Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the Q&A for Invitation to the Dance. I hope everyone enjoyed the film as much as I did. I'd like to start off by thanking our sponsors of this film, the Coastal Awakening through the Shambrom Family Foundation. We thank you very much for your sponsorship. And our major sponsors of the film festival, BHE, American General Media, and KSBY. We wouldn't be able to pull off all of this without you, so thank you so much. And thanks to all of our guests that have joined us during our festival. So I'd like to introduce our guests that we have today. Today we have Sarah Shoemaker, who is the director and producer of Invitation to the Dance. And we're also lucky to have Lena Forster, who is in the film as the dance instructor for the students. So I'm going to thank you so much for joining us, and we're so excited to have your film at the festival.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad to be involved. It's just an honor and privilege. And I also just want to say also thanks to the sponsors. I always want to add that because I know how much it means to have sponsors.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, your film is lovely, and I think it's a really impactful film in 38 minutes. I have to be honest, I smiled a lot during it, and although you have some laughable moments and humor in it, you also have some very touching and emotional moments. And I think what I'd like to start out asking you is, Sarah, where did the inspiration come from to do a film, to do this film, and why were you kind of pointed in the direction that you were?
Well, it's a good question. This was my first film that I've ever done. And prior to this, I had been, for about 10 years, I was an actor in Nashville. And then my husband and I moved to Greenville, South Carolina, and there was not a lot of acting jobs. And I didn't really know what I was going to do with my life at that point, but I had really loved the film world. And so I didn't know what to do, but then because of my dance background, I stumbled into Lena's dance academy. It was International Ballet Academy. And I kind of pitched an idea about something else, just trying to marry my love of dance and my knowledge of dance with film. And she didn't quite gravitate to the idea that I pitched to her, but she said, if you're interested in filming something, I'd like for you to film my special needs dance class. And I was like, well, tell me about it. And that was, it was her idea. And then it was me seeing literally just one class. And I was like, okay, I can do this. I can film this. But I will say this, the film part of it that wasn't something I was necessarily going to do. I just was going to do like a video maybe they could use on their website. Like I said, I had not been a filmmaker. So I didn't have a lot of big dreams or visions. It just kept growing. And the people who were watching the footage were like, I think there's something here. You could probably make a short film out of this. And so I did. And it took a while to get there, but I think that it was always, a story like that's that powerful, seeing someone doing something that is inspiring, it's timeless. And so even though it took a while for me to get to the finished product, I'm kind of glad that it's been the journey that it's been, because when it does come out, now that it's coming out and it's in film festivals, it's clear that people are interested in seeing the possibilities and being inspired. So I'm glad it's out.
Excellent. And Lena, can I ask you, where do your origins come from in regards to obviously, dance and teaching dance, but in getting involved with teaching people with disabilities dance?
It's even more accidental than Sarah's coming into my, meeting me. It was, I know nothing. I haven't had anybody in my life with special needs. I just haven't, anybody that I've been, close to or known family or anything. And I don't know, it's like people always ask, since I had a ballet academy and we had a performing company, that, can we have tickets to a show, and somebody asked me from the Disabilities Board, which is now Thrive Upstate, that services the Greenville area, if they can get, tickets for the Nutcracker. And I said, sure, why don't you come to the studio, and I'll give them to you. And I pulled tickets for her. She came to the studio, watched me teaching adult ballet. And she said, would you like to try to teach special needs, class? And I said, sure, I know nothing, but on the other hand, they have to be able to come in, they have to be able to go out, and that's it. As long as, we have like 8 people and some staff that can possibly help me out if there's an issue. So I think it was like 15 people showed up, and 2 staff people though, or 3 staff people right off the bat. And we just literally with that first group, just put something together to get them to move, to exercise, to think, to work, teamwork, this, that, and the other, and just rolled with it. And, I love what you said in the very beginning, introducing it, that when you were watching the film, it made you smile. Well, we smile and we laugh, and we are unlike what ballet is supposed to be. And I've always said that to other students, ballet is a silent art form, This class is not very silent, it's like there's a lot of camaraderie that goes on and everything. And every so often you have to calm them down, and that's how the whole thing started. And it's just year after year. And we've put together little shows for, when they have Christmas or at the end of the year, they participate with us and they call it home.
Excellent, excellent. Well, that's perfect. And again, I think perhaps maybe one of the things that spoke to me as a viewer was seeing sort of, how do you say this, pure joy and honesty on the participants' faces.
Oh, yeah.
And yes, and I'm sure you get even honesty beyond, just,
Yeah, we get a little bit too much sometimes, but, it's like,
Exactly.
it's kind of, it makes you really look in the mirror and say, I get it. You're right.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So I'll kind of ask Sarah, and then if Lena, if you want to jump in too. But what were some of the biggest challenges to filming this film? Besides, I know if I understand correctly, Sarah, you did shoot it over a long period of time, or at least the editing took a couple years. Is that correct?
Right. The shooting of the actual class itself was done in 1 year. And it was the journey of sort of from the beginning of the year to the end of year recital, as you saw. And there was actually nothing difficult about that. It was so fun. I had a cinematographer, Andrew Bradford, who volunteered his time. He's at the time he was a brand new young, DP, and now he's having success. I don't know that he'd have time to do that now, but at the time I caught him at the perfect moment. He was very talented and eager. So he just made it really easy. It was just the 2 of us. We would just show up, and Lena was always very open to let us come into the classes. And we went to some other locations when they did a Christmas dance performance, and then of course at the Peace Center. So that year was easy. There was nothing difficult about that. It was just nothing but joy. But again, the hard part, I guess, would be for me just the learning curve of editing. Learning how to edit, learning the software. I mean, I really, truly this was a first time film, but this was a first time doing every part of it. And I love stuff like that. I guess, I don't know. I enjoy the challenge of it, but I'm actually trying to do a second film starting this summer. And I'm so glad I have learned all that I've learned, so I don't have to learn it again. So it was just getting it done, I think, and understanding that you're not necessarily going to please everybody with any particular cut. I kept doing a version and then putting it out there and then listening to feedback and trying to fix all the little critiques I would hear, and then do another version and put that out. And there were different critiques. And at some point I realized you can't make everybody love your film. Like, there's going to be a point when some people are going to love it, some people are not going to love it. And you have to just stand firm in what you wanted to create and what you were trying to do. So there was, again, a lot of learning lessons for me, but I mean, the process of filming it was nothing but joy, honestly.
Excellent.
Well, I will jump in, because right from the beginning, I thought Sarah's film was absolutely fabulous. Then she started getting a whole bunch of edits, and everybody professional was throwing things in, and we were all looking, I was looking at it from the heart, our volunteers were, and everything, and we know it, and it was just absolutely fabulous. So she went through the rigmarole with all these edits and everything, and finally she came back to, her thought, her heart, her feeling for it, And this is what you see today. So.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Maybe again, if you don't mind, I'll ask kind of each of you, what's kind of the biggest thing that you learned from doing this film about this subject with these people? And Sarah, I understand, of course, you've had the whole process of doing a film, and I'm excited to hear that you're moving on to your next film. But what kind of reflective things did you learn either about yourself or other people?
That's a good question. I think this particular community for me it's very poignant when I think about it and when I spend time reflecting on what I was kind of trying to put out there. And the truth of the matter is I feel like people underestimate people who have limitations, and the fact that you can contribute to the world so dramatically in a way that is celebrated. Like I wish there was, and that's why I love that it's actually a movie. I like calling it a movie because it sounds very glamorous. I love that there's a movie that stars these people who their gifts to the world they don't plug in anywhere that's very obvious. But I just love that we can celebrate their heart, their integrity, their honesty, their joy, and their passion. It's like an alternative way of looking at value. And I find people who have disabilities to be equally valuable in the world. Their gifts are unique and different, but when you spend time with them, and that's the thing is, and Lena can tell you this because she spends time with them for years and years and years, and she wouldn't do that if she wasn't getting a massive reward from what she's doing. And the reward is the time that you spend with them. And I hope that that's what the film gives people, is just a sense of value in a world that doesn't necessarily value everything that they bring.
Exactly.
And Lena, there's probably a more eloquent way to say that, but it's just
it's just like the film. You're being honest, and stripped down, and it is what it is. Yes.
And I will add this too, actually. I think that because my background is as a dancer in the classical ballet world, and when you grow up in the ballet world in America, you are basically being told constantly that you have to fight for a living. You're not going to be celebrated. You will by a certain group, but it's not like, pop culture. It's not the masses. And I think that for me, there's probably a little bit of like underdog, like we have value. Like I identify with people whose gifts may not be celebrated, in money in the world. So I don't want to say that I totally identify, but I do feel like there's ways to celebrate all kinds of things in this world.
I love that. I love that message. That's perfect. Thank you. Yes. Lena, do you have anything that you'd like to add in regards to, the experience?
The experience it's the same whether it was a film. They weren't really, to them, you tell them we're filming, we're this and that, and they weren't even, that didn't faze them. It was just another class, another day. Sarah's visiting, we're going to get to see Sarah when she comes, and, different places with them. And they weren't, impressed that they were being filmed. They weren't acting, everything was just life, and to me, I see that every time I teach them. What's amazing, they're no different than teaching a class of, dancers. You've got some that are just working against all odds, and, I have people that, have not only physical, but mental and physical disabilities and everything. And they are such hard workers. They scare me to death, that they just attack what they're doing because they feel very strongly about getting it right, getting it done, and, and everything. And they just attack it. And you have the people that are lazy. They're more interested in, they're going to, we're going to miss lunch if we don't get out of here soon, and once in a while you get that kind of person, and it's done. What's really great is they all volunteer to come. This isn't something that, people, your mom signs you up or something, they're asked who wants to come to this dance class, and they volunteer. They can only come one time and say, I'm not going to do this, but they keep coming back, which is, and for a teacher, I've been teaching ballet all my adult life. As a teacher, I will say there's nothing more gratifying than having a student that wants to be there. So, that makes it all worthwhile, no matter what they're doing, as long as they're trying. As a teacher, I think we can all agree, no matter what we're trying to teach, if the child wants to do it or the adult wants to do it, it makes you happy and you've done your job. They want to do it. So
exactly. And a little shout out to everyone who's a teacher. As a daughter of an educator, I have the utmost admiration for anybody who teaches, whether it be in a classroom, out on a field, or in a studio. So thank you for that leadership that you give. And let's see, I just want to ask one or two more questions as we're running out of time. But Sarah, I'd like to ask you, what's next for Invitation to the Dance? Are you showing at other festivals, or are you going to start more concentrating on your next film?
Well, both are true. So we have about 8 other festivals that we're still waiting to hear from. It was accepted at, I don't know if this is known, but it won Best Overall Film at the Tryon International Film Festival, which was a huge thing to beat out like 80 other films. It's showing at the Beaufort International Film Festival here in South Carolina next week, and also the Black Hills Film Festival. And these are places I have connections to, by the way. My mom is from the Black Hills, so I did that one because in honor of her. And then San Luis Obispo, I will say that I have family in Morro Bay. So I was like, oh, I have to submit to San Luis. But there's some other ones.
I can go with you, Sarah, anytime. So, just saying.
So many.
Lena's looking for some warmer weather. She's got a cold where she is. So.
So yeah, there's a list of others that we're waiting to hear from, and I'm along for the ride. Like I said, this is my first time putting a film into the festival circuit, so I'm learning all what I need to know and do, and I'm excited about the whole thing. And I just find it thrilling to feel like this community that we shot and put so much time and effort into kind of loving the project is now being birthed to be seen. So that's exciting. But then also, while that's all going on, I actually am in, I would call it pre-production, but it's really fundraising mode for another film that's also dance related. But this one is a completely opposite end of the spectrum. It's actually about a professional ballet that we're filming as a ballet and turning it like from a staged version into a film version, and then a documentary piece around that, kind of the making of this work, which is I'm excited about that. So it's two. It's like birthing the one and then looking forward and planning for the other one. And I really actually have a full-time job working for.
Yes, don't forget.
Yeah, working for International Ballet, which is the kind of the other odd thing about this story is that the company that I was filming at the time that I filmed it, I had no idea that I was going to end up actually working for Lena, and then even beyond that was I was going to end up replacing, that sounds terrible, but Lena retired sort of, and I ended up doing her job. So I'm now the executive director of International Ballet.
And I had actually been given an opportunity to find my own replacement. So it's funny. We had a fabulous board that let me do that. And I said, it's not allowed. We have to go through a search, and they made me president, and the president can hire an executive director. So I hired Sarah, and I retired.
Excellent, excellent. You can leave knowing it's in good hands. There's something to be said for that. So that's wonderful. Well, unless you have anything else, I'd really like to thank you again for, on a personal front, like I said, I strongly believe in accessibility and advocacy and a barrier-free world is where we all can enjoy, the same things, maybe in a different way and whatnot. But I think this film really celebrates that. And it's great. And even in our San Luis Obispo community, we have a North County adaptive sort of recreation program for people with special needs. And they get together and dance. They do a whole square dancing thing, as well as bocce ball and tennis. And so seeing this really connected me with that group and reminded me of working with them as well. So it's terrific. I love the celebration of that. So thank you for sharing the film. And And I'm going to go ahead and jump in again real quick and again, thank our sponsors very much for their support. The sponsor of the film again is the Coastal Awakening through the Shanbrum Family Foundation, as well as our other film festival sponsors, BHE, American General Media, and KSBY. So thank you so much, Lena and Sarah, for coming and sharing your story
you.
with us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right.
Enjoyed
Thank
it.
you. And if you want more information about the film, what's the website that people can go to, Sarah?
invitationtothedancefilm.com.
Perfect. Thank you, Sarah. All right. Thanks for
Thank you.
tuning in.
Okay, thank you. Have a good
Okay,
evening.
thank you. Have a good
Bye.
evening. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.